Hi everyone. Hope you've had a good day so far. Like Miss Julie said, today is our last session, but we still have a really fun, exciting activity planned for today. So, okay, let's get started. So thank you all for coming and let's get started. Okay, so today we are going to be working with the line detector. So like Miss Julie said, we first did our coral reef playground, then we did our magnet playground with the discs, and then we did shape tracing. And this time we will be doing line detectors. So detector kind of implies using our sensor. So we will be using some of our sensors. So that'll be exciting. And then if you are new, a little bit about me. So my name is Monica. I'm a junior in high school from Austin, Texas, and I love computer science, and I love being able to share my knowledge of Xcode VR and all the other kind of programming logical concepts with you all. So let's get right into our line detector. So I'm going to put the link to Xcode VR in the chat if you do not have it already. And once we get here, we're going to click our playground button over here, top right. And the default should be the grid map. If it's not, that's fine. All you need to do is scroll down here, third from the bottom to line detector. So it looks just like this once it loads. Okay, so just in case anyone missed that, so we open our Xcode VR. If a tutorial pops up in the bottom, just exit out of it because we don't need the tutorial for today. Top right over here, click on playground. And once that loads, over here in the select playground, you go up here to the drop down and you can select the one we're working with. So remember, we worked with our coral reef, our shape tracer, our disk mover, and finally our line detector. So down here, third from the bottom, line detector. I'm seeing someone ask me to wait. Yes, I can wait. Just around 15 seconds, pull up your line detector playground, and then we can get started. Okay, so if someone still needs more time, please put it in the chat or, give me a thumbs down or anything. Just let me know that you need more time. Otherwise, we can keep going. Okay, Koyani, yeah, no problem. We can wait 10 more seconds. All right, let's keep moving. So this is our line detector playground. I put a little screenshot here to see what we're going to be working with today. So this will use, as you probably might have guessed, we will use our color detectors. And I don't think we've used these color detectors yet. We've used magnets, distance sensors, so that's for objects. However, these are colors, so we are going to be working with our color detector. So we have worked with our repeat blocks, we've worked with if blocks. Now we're going to be working with slightly more complicated versions of those same blocks. So we'll start, the first one in the middle over here is that's a print block. So print, we haven't worked with print yet. However, the color is purple. So this means that something is going to be visible to the coder, to the viewer. So if you go over here in the looks panel, these are all. So we've worked with move robot pen down. We've worked with set robot pen color, which is what we worked with last time with our shape tracer. This time we are going to be working with a print block. So as always, just drag out a when started block over here from the events. And then the first thing in the looks section is print. So we're going to drag our print block out. And what this will do is this will print something to our console. So I'll give you a couple seconds to drag out both of these blocks and then we can keep moving. Okay, I'm seeing some people tell me they're done. That's great. So we want to be able to see what our robot is printing out, right? So we're gonna move our playground a little to the side, and this block over here right in the middle, which looks kind of like a timer. We're gonna click on that, and then it'll pop up over here, something with our sensors and our variables. And then down here, there's this little gray area. This is, you can pretty much call it your console. So this means something is gonna be printed to your screen. So I'll do that again. Over here, top right, if you can see my cursor, we have two arrows, one pointing left, one pointing right, and then we have a question mark. So the thing right in between, this like half circle with some lines in it, we're gonna click on that, and then the screen will pop up. Can everyone see my screen? I'm getting a chat that you cannot see my screen. If you can see my screen, please just say in the chat, I can see it, because
I can see it, Miss Manika, but maybe sometimes when people tune in on mobile devices, it's a little bit funny. So you could just stop share and restart share just in case anyone can't see it. And one other question that came up is, can you show us again, how do we get to the monitor where we can see the different print values?
Yes, okay. So usually your playground is over here and it's kind of covering it up. So if you want, you can actually, you have to move your playground. So just click on this yellow over here at the top and just drag it off to the side. It just a little bit away so that you can see these three kind of buttons up here in the top right. And we have double arrows, a question mark, and just a button right here in the middle. Click on that, and then your monitor will pop up. Okay. Someone's saying it will not work. What will not work? Is your monitor not showing up? How can I help you? Okay. The sensor thing. We haven't started working with sensors yet. So it should be blank up here. So I'll go over that one last time. So over here, our playground button is up here. Below the playground button and to the right, this button in the middle, to the right of the two arrows, and in between the question mark and the two arrows. Over here, our monitor. And yes, we have not coded anything yet. This is just set up. Okay, so we pulled up our playground and we've pulled up our monitor. How do I get the monitor? Okay, last time, over here, you can see my cursor. I'm hovering over this button over here in between the two arrows and the question mark. Okay, this is our monitor. Click on it. Okay, we don't need this right this second, so don't worry about it if you don't have it right this second. I'm going to keep moving on because we do have a lot to cover. If you still need help, I will come back to it. However, we do need to move on. Okay, so we'll move our playground back here because we don't need it right this second, but we do need to see our code. So all I've done so far is dragged out a when started block, which is what we always start with. We worked with this before. Every single time, we always needed a when started block. So it's the first block in our events. And then we're going to drag out a purple looks block. So it's also the first block in the looks. So purple, just drag out a print vex code. Okay, those are the two blocks we've dragged out so far. Okay, and now to test this, okay, I'm gonna hide my playground because we don't need it right now. So if you want to hide your playground, if it's taking up too much space, there's a button over here that clicks hide. That says hide. So just click on that and then it'll hide your playground. If you need it again, just click show. Okay, so right now I'm going to hide it. It's still there. It's just hidden because it's taking up a lot of space. Okay. So these are the two blocks I have. One started print vex code, and I have my monitor over here to the right. So this little dark gray rectangle, this is where my robot will start printing to the console. So this is where I will be able to start seeing what my robot is printing. Okay, that's what we've had our playground set up. I will go over it again if anyone needs it. However, we're going to go back to our blocks now. So we've used our print block, and then we have two more blocks. We have an IfThen Else and a RepeatUntil. So just by the names of these blocks, does anyone have an idea of what you think either one of these blocks may do? Just put it in the chat. Just say, I think the IfThen Else block does this, or I think the RepeatUntil block does this. It's okay if you're wrong. I will go over it. However, just anyone make a prediction of what you think the block will do. So I'll give a couple seconds. If you are brave, you can share what you think one of the blocks will do. I think the repeat block makes something do the same thing over and over. Yes. Okay, so the repeat block, yes, that is what a repeat block does. However, this block says repeat until. So what do you think the repeat until means? You know, if I say I will keep walking forward until I hit a wall. So until I hit a wall. So that means it will keep doing that. And then every time it will check, have I hit the wall yet? Have I hit the wall yet? And if it has hit the wall, it will stop. Right. And then an if then else. So an if block means it'll read what's over here at the top, if, and then it'll do it. And if it's not true, it'll completely ignore it. However, this time we have an else. So that means if you see this and it is true, do it. However, otherwise, I want you to do something completely different. So that's an if then else. So it's kind of like logically in English too, right? If I see a wall, then I will stop. Else, I will keep walking. So it'll check the first if first, and then it'll keep moving forward. So these are our descriptions. Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds to read that. I did go over it just now, but if you do want it written on your screen, this is exactly what it does. So give a couple seconds, just read that, and then we will keep moving. All right, let's keep moving. So now these are what we're going to do. So using the blocks that I just talked about, our print, our if then else, and our repeat until, those are pretty much all the blocks we need to code this. And then there's 5 columns of colored lines. So let's go back to our playground. So I'm going to click show, and I'll see my playground again. Okay, so I have 5 columns. So the first, this is A, it's covered up by a robot, but however, you can see everything else is B, C, D, so this obviously is A. So my robot will keep driving forward. However, there is a black line painted on the ground. So what I want my robot to do is when its sensor detects this black line, I want it to print black line detected to my console. That's for A. And then for B, I want it to print black line detected every time it sees a black line. So you can count, and there's 5 black lines. So that means I want it to print black line detected 5 times. And then for C, there's also 5 lines, however, they are different colors. So the first line is black, then it's red, then it's green, then it's blue, and then it's black again. So I want my robot to print black line detected, red line detected, green line detected, blue line detected, and then finally black line detected. Okay, so, and then so on and so forth. So I will do the same for D and do the same for E. So how can we tell our robot to detect a black line on the ground? Does anyone have any ideas of what you think, how you think our robot will be able to detect a line painted on the ground? And I did give a little hint before, it is one of our sensors. So if we go down here to this light blue section over here is for sensing. So I click on that. These are the sensors I have available. You can scroll a little up and down, and some of these sensors will allow us to detect what is painted on the ground. Take a brave guess. I saw someone say pen. Pen is what we used last time. And I don't think pen is the one we'll use for this one because we don't want to actually draw anything on the ground. We just wanna tell if there's a color. So someone said front eye detect. Very, very close. It is down eye because remember, the lines are painted on the ground. So our front eye is what we see directly ahead of us. So if I'm looking straight in front of me, I cannot tell what is on the ground. I will have to move my eyes down. So our robot actually has two sets of eyes, one eye on its front and one eye below it. So we will use down eye. And over here, detects red. This is just detecting a color. So I'm going to drag out this block. And currently it says front eye detects red. However, I want my down eye. And if you click on the drop down, there's colors available. So there's red, green, blue, and none. However, we are looking for black. So we're going to have to be a little innovative and figure out a way to code our robot to detect a black line. So you can't do it directly with this sensor, and it is a little difficult. I don't think any of you would really be able to come up with it. It took me quite a while to figure out how to do it. However, this is how you do it. So we are using our sensing, and we will be using brightness. So assuming white is 100% brightness, anything under that would be like say 50% brightness, 20% brightness, 80% brightness. We just don't know exactly what it is. However, we do know that it is less than 100 because white is 100. So any color, any brightness below 100 is our color. And since there's only one color, which is black, we can just do any brightness below 100. Obviously, this is not going to work for C, D, and E because the red is still below 100% brightness. But according to this, we would detect red as black, and that's not correct. However, for columns A and B, that is okay. And if you are a little confused about that, don't worry, I will go over it right now. So we're using a repeat until block. So, okay, repeat until. So if you need help finding that, it's under control and it's near the bottom, right here, repeat until. And then there's a little hexagon shape for detecting something that we want our robot to detect. So we're using the brightness block and we want it to say if it's less than, basically less than 100. So we're going to be using our operators. So does anyone have an idea? Does anyone think they have an idea of which one of these operators we will use to check if our brightness is less than 100? You can put it in the chat, or you can private chat me, or anyway, just if you have an idea, let me know what you think. The one with 50 with the greatest and the smallest. Yes, that's correct. So we're going to be using this block right here. So you know in your math we've used greater than and less than signs. So it's basically the same thing here. Programming and math have a lot in common, as I'm sure you could tell from our last lesson, where we had to do a ton of math to figure out angle measures and side lanes. This one does not involve as much math. However, programming still involves some math. So we're going to be using, we're just going to drag our front eye right here. So it clicked into place. So when I click on my front eye brightness and I drag it and then I hover it, you can see that my area in our green block kind of highlights. So then when I let go, it'll snap right into that empty space. So currently it says front eye brightness less than 50. However, I want it to be less than 100. So I'm just going to change this 50 to a 100. And less than 100 means anything lower than 100. So it's not less than or equal to. It does not equal to 100. So anything below 100. So 99, 98, 97, 96, all the way up to negatives. However, this does not have a negative brightness. So our lowest brightness will be 0. But it will not include 100. Because if we include 100, then white is included. And we do not want to include white. And it's down eye. Sorry. Thank you for reminding me. It is down eye. So down eye brightness in percentage is less than 100. So now my robot is going to keep driving, and every time it will check hey, is my down eye detecting a brightness less than 100? So we expect it to keep driving all the way, and this entire time the brightness is equal to 100. And 100 is not less than 100, so this will evaluate to false, which means my robot will completely ignore it. It's going to drive forward until it touches this black. And then as soon as my down eye detects black, I want it to print something to my console. So what I'm going to do is repeat until down eye brightness, I can move that out of the way. Repeat until down eye brightness is less than 100. Okay, so that's that block. I'll give you a couple seconds to figure that out. And then does anyone think they have an idea what I should put in this repeat until block? So until my brightness is less than 100, what do I want my robot to do? Yes, I want the number to be less than 100. Yes, so I don't know exactly what my black's brightness is. It's probably quite low because white and black are opposites. However, I don't know exactly what the number is. So I don't want to say if brightness equals to 20, because what if my black is 18? What if it's 17? I don't know exactly. So I'm just going to say less than 100 because I know it's definitely going to be less than 100. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, awesome. So there's that. So repeat until down eye brightness is less than 100. So I don't think anyone has told me yet what it is. However, basically, I just want my robot to drive forward, right? Because I want it to drive forward, and every time I want it to check, hey, is my brightness less than 100? And it shouldn't be less than 100 until you reach the black line. Until I reach the black line, every brightness should be 100 because white is 100. So when it does see my black line, that's when I want it to do something. So until then, I just want it to drive forward. Okay, there's that. Okay, so when started, print vex code, repeat until this, and then drive forward. Okay, so this is what my robot is doing currently. And now I want it to print to my console. So I cannot see my console because my playground is covering it up. So I'm going to move my playground off to the side. Okay, it's going to cover up my code. However, I don't need to see my code for it to run. If white is 100 and black and white opposites, black should be 0. Yes, black should be 0. However, I'm not entirely sure until I actually drive over it, and I can't drive over it until I get there. So that's why I need my code. If we want to be absolutely sure, there is a way to check for the brightness. However, we don't need to worry about that right now. So if you are curious, I will show you how to detect the black's brightness. However, that's not necessary right this second. Okay, so now like this, you can see my code again. When started, print vex code, repeat until down eye brightness is less than 100, drive forward. So what do you expect this code to do? Put it in the chat. Yeah, I saw someone say they want it to print vex code and then drive forward until it reaches the black line. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to show my playground again. It's okay if it covers up my code. And now I'm expecting something to be printed to my console. So I'm going to click start. And there we go. Did you see a printed vex code? And now it's going to drive forward until it touches my black line, and then it just keeps going. Okay, and then it gets stuck on the wall, and I will have to tell it to stop. However, I didn't do that yet, so it will just keep going. Okay, so here's my vex code printed down here, and my robot I've stopped my robot because it is going to flip over when it hits the wall. Okay, and this isn't one of those, I think someone is getting confused. We are not picking up the lines, they're painted on the ground. We are just detecting the lines. So I know in our coral playground, we were picking up the trash. In our disc mover, we were picking up the discs and moving them. However, in this one, the lines are just painted on the ground. I'm not doing anything to them. I'm just detecting them and printing every time I see a line. Okay. Hopefully that clears it up. Okay, and I'm going to hide my playground again so you can see my code. So again, just click on this up here. this is my code. Okay, so all this has done is repeated until my brightness is less than 100, and it'll drive forward. Okay, and now there's really no point in printing Vex code right now. I was just demonstrating how the code will print to the console. So now I can just click clear down here and it clears. So again, bottom left of your monitor console, you can click clear and everything that has just been printed will clear. Someone said it isn't working. Are you writing your code the exact same way as me? Because it should work. And if there's something specific that's not working, then we can help you after that. What isn't working? Is it not printing to the console? Is the robot not driving forward? The robot isn't moving. Okay, so it should move because my down eye brightness is not less than 100. However, and I think someone said my screen share is not working again. I'm gonna stop and reshare. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Okay, well, you can see that now. And we're bringing up back our monitor, and this is where we're at so far. You don't see the share screen? Yes, I am working on it. Where do you see the robot? Okay, you can click on show and it'll show your robot. There's just, the screen isn't big enough to show the console, the playground, and the code. So you have to maneuver it a little bit. However, this is the code, so make sure your code looks exactly the same as mine. Where do you see the robot? It's right here, down here. It's in A. It's covering, it's kind of small, but it's right there. All right, once we have gotten that, we can move out this print Vex code that was just checking. And now I'm going to drag out a repeat until block. Here it is. So I'm going to want to repeat this code until my robot's left bumper is pressed. So that's just the way that I check if it hits a wall. So if it hits a wall, it has 2 bumpers on the front of it. So if it hits a wall, one of its bumpers will be pressed. Actually, both of them will be pressed at the same time. So I can just pick, do I want it to detect if the left bumper is pressed or if the right bumper is pressed? However, it does default to left bumper, so you can just keep it that way. So repeat until it's under the control, close to the bottom, repeat until, and then my drivetrain, down here, my sensors, left bumper pressed. So I want to repeat this code until my left bumper is pressed. Okay. Now I'm going to drag out an IfThen Else. So we talked about what an IfThen Else block does. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to drag this out and stick it here. And this, and get rid of that. Okay. So I just did a little bit of block moving. See if you can keep up. So what I did is I dragged out an IfThen Else block. And what I had in my repeat until, which was the down eye brightness and percent less than 100, I just switched those places. So over here, I have an if then else. If down eye brightness is less than 100, then do this. However, I haven't told it to do anything yet. So just make sure your code looks like this. And then I'll just wait a couple seconds for everyone. You're just working with this one block up here. If then else, down eye brightness in percent is less than 100. It's the same as before. However, we changed repeat until to an if then else. That's the only change we made. Okay. Now we're going to drag out a repeat until block right outside my if down eye in percent less than 100. So repeat until left bumper pressed. So everything that is within my repeat until block will keep repeating until my left bumper has been pressed. Are we just doing until we reach the black? Yes, for this first one, we are just doing until we reach the black. Okay, now we're dragging out a drive forward, right below. It's the first block in my repeat until loop. You did that, okay, great. So if down eye brightness is less than 100, then print black line detected. This is what I want it to print. You can ask it to print anything. However, it just logically makes the most sense since we are trying to figure out which line colors we detect. However, you just want to print black, you just want to print black line, any of that, it's up to you what you want to print. Okay, I'll wait a minute or two, make sure all of this code that I have on my screen, you have on your screen. Okay, if you want to take a picture, you are free to do that, but try to make sure that your code looks exactly the same as mine. I'll wait a minute or two. Okay, is everyone good? If you need more time, please just say in the chat, how much time do you think you will need? So if you do need more time, just say, hey, I need another minute. Hey, I need another 30 seconds. Okay, I'm seeing someone say they need 3 minutes. Okay, most people are saying they got it, so I'll wait another 30 seconds. However, we do have a lot to cover because we need to detect all of the colors. So 10 more seconds. Okay, so this is the code for detecting a black line. So to make sure that it actually properly detects the line, I'm going to drag out a stop driving. So what this code will do is here, let's show our playground again, move it to the side so we can evaluate both at the same time. So when started, repeat until my left bumper is pressed. So basically, repeat until I hit a wall. Drive forward. So it's going to drive forward and then it'll check, hey, is my down eye's brightness less than 100? If it is, then it will do what's in this code. However, for the first, like, 3,000 millimeters, actually that's a little too much, but just for the majority of the way until it gets to the black line, that's not going to be true, because the brightness will be 100% because it is white. So this if statement will evaluate to false. So it'll completely ignore the if and go to the else. I don't have anything in the else, so it'll ignore it and then keep driving. So it'll keep driving until my brightness is less than 100. And when my brightness is less than 100, that means I've hit a black line. So it'll enter this loop. The first thing I told it to do is print black line detected, and then it'll stop driving. So it'll just hit the edge of my black line. The first time my sensor detects it, it'll print and then stop. Okay, so let's check. So we're going to move our playground over and play. So here my robot is driving, and it's not printing anything because my loop has not evaluated to true. There we go. Okay, so it did that. It printed black line detected multiple times because the line has a width. So every time my robot's detector detects it, which according to this is 3 times, it'll print. So that is something we will have to fix later on. But for right now, we know that our sensors are working. Okay, so I'm going to hide my playground, make sure everyone has this, and there. Okay. Now I'm going to clear this and change my if then else. I'm going to drag out another if then else. Actually, I'll drag out the big one. Okay, this is if then, else, if then, and else. So it looks a lot more complicated. However, it's really just adding another if. So what this will do is I'm going to drag out this and replace it. So we're working our way into bigger blocks. Okay, so all I did was replace my if then else down here with a bigger if then else, because the first thing it'll do is it'll check for brightness. Okay, so if my brightness is less than 100, now it knows that it has detected a line. However, it doesn't know what color it is yet. It doesn't know if it's black, red, green, or blue. And I do need to differentiate between all these lines because I need to print out the color. I can't just say line detected because I want to specify which line did I detect. Was it red, green, blue, or black? So the first thing this does is it just checks, have I detected a line? If I have, then check to see what color of the line. So if the brightness is detected, then check for what color it is. Okay, there's that. So if my brightness is less than 100, then it's going to do all this. The first thing I'm going to do is ask my sensor to figure out what color it is. What do you not see? Do you not see the if then else block? Yes, okay. If then else. So go to control, scroll all the way down. All the way down is stop project, then break, then while. So right towards the middle, we have 3 different types of if blocks. So the first if block is just one. So if this, then this. So there's no else. The second type of block is if this, then something, and then else. And then there's a third type, which allows you to add multiple elses. So it's basically like the advanced version of the regular if then else, because otherwise I'll have to keep saying, if this, then do this. If this, then do this. If this, then do this. So my robot is checking for each thing. So when it detects a brightness less than 100, it now knows there's a color. So it'll first check, is it red? Then it'll check, is it green? Then it'll check, is it blue? However, it can only be one color. So I really don't need it to check every single time. You literally don't have a 3 if else code. That's weird. Okay, it should have this kind of weird plus sign looking thing at the bottom. That's just you can keep adding more else's. Okay, so this can end up being really, really big. You don't need that many. However, it will have that. Okay, now that's fixed. So if down it detects red, so the first color I'm checking for is red. You could check for green or blue first, it doesn't matter. However, the first one is red. So if it detects red, then I want it to print red line detected. So we're going to change this to red. Because obviously, if it detects red, then we want it to print red line. If it's blue, we want it to print blue line. If it's green, we want it to print green line. Okay, so if it detects red, I want it to print red line detected. Then I want to check what if it's not red? What if it's green? So I'm going to drag out another detects block, put it in this else if. So what's really cool about an if else block is it doesn't have to check every single time. It only checks once, basically. What if it's both? It can't be both. It can't be a red and a green line because if you look at our playground, the lines are only one solid color. There's no like gradient lines, there's no multicolored lines, which is pretty convenient because it would be very, very, very complicated if the lines were multiple colors. So for right now, you don't have to worry about that. So now I'm going to change this to down eye, and I want to change this to green. You could change it to blue. It doesn't matter. However, if you want to follow along exactly the way I did, it might be easier to check for mistakes. Okay, so just follow along exactly with what I'm doing. I will explain what each block means at the end. So now I have a spot for red and green, but I don't have a spot for blue. So I'm going to click on this plus sign, and it just adds another one. So now I'm going to change down eye detects to blue. Okay, else if down eye detects blue, then this. And now I'm going to print blue line detected. Detected. Okay, there's that. So now I've checked for red, green, and blue. And now we know if you detect a brightness less than 100, then there's obviously a line. And I've checked for red, green, and blue. So if it's none of those, then by process of elimination, the line has to be black. So I'm going to drag out an else black line detect. So it is kind of long code, so I'll give 2 or 3 minutes. Everyone, if you haven't already copied all of this down, please do so that you aren't lost when I go over how it works. So I'll give, just about 2 minutes, and then, make sure your code looks exactly the same as mine. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Like if something isn't working, if you can't find a block, let me know and I can help you out. But everyone else, just make sure your code looks the exact same as mine.
Awesome, you guys. I know that this is a tricky lesson. Using the sensors and detectors can be hard. So if you guys need a little extra help after class today, we're happy to stay. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. If any of you though are like, hey, I got this. I really am good. I understand. I'm satisfied with my work. I do have one request before you go. As I mentioned, there is a very short exit survey, and this will give you your certificate of achievement. So tell me a little bit about your final project here, what your favorite activity was, and how you want your name spelled on your certificate in that form that I just put into the chat there. And you will be emailed a custom certificate with your name on it. So if anybody is getting wrapped up here, please make sure to do that before you go. It is so helpful to us, and you also get the awesome certificate. But for anyone who needs help, wants to stay and debug, we are here, and we will make sure that you've got the answers before you go today.
Okay, and really quick, I uploaded the full version of the code. So if it looks longer, pretty much the only thing that's different is set cursor to next row. So basically, we need to add this block because otherwise, every time it prints a color, it just prints it all at once. It's just like a really long line of text, which is like really difficult for us to read. So every time you write a sentence or whatever, you click enter, so you can separate your thoughts, right? Like bulleted lists. You can't write all of your bullet points in the same line because that is so confusing and our brain cannot understand. So that's why we set the cursor to the next row, because you have to tell your robot, right? The robot doesn't know that it's not easy for humans to read it if it's all just one huge blob of text. So we're going to set our cursor to the next row every time it prints out a line. Okay? And oh gosh, why is my background moving? Your screen glitched and crashed, but you're in now. Okay, awesome. And then the last final change we made is down here. I have a repeat until down I detects none, drive forward. So this is how we get around that problem of where it was printing it multiple times. Because remember, when the first time it detected the black line, it printed out black line detected 3 times because that's the amount of time it took for my robot to fully drive over the line. So this is how you get around all those tiny little glitches. I know that might have been a little fast for some people. However, I think some people say they are good to go. So I'll do a really quick demonstration of what your finished product should look like. Let's move this a little. And if you are still copying the code, don't worry. I'm just going to do a really fast demonstration for the people who feel they are done. And then we can go back and I can help anyone who still needs help. So this is what our code should look like. Okay, so I just did line D. So the first thing you have to read top to bottom. So the first line is green, then it'll drive forward, it'll print red, then it'll print green, then it'll print blue, then it'll print red, then it'll print green, then red, then blue, and then finally that's it. So then it should, then we can stop it. Okay, so this is what it looks like. If your robot does work, then thank you for coming. I hope you learned and you're free to go. However, if you do need a little bit of help, this is the code. And if you, make sure to fill out the form so that you can get your completion certificate. And